Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today we are going to start book Sociology in India. Block 1, Emergence of Sociology in India. Unit 1, Social Background of the Emergence of Sociology in India. Sociology, which in India is closely associated with social anthropology, is a relatively loosely defined area of study in this country as in other parts of the globe. Different scholars adopt different approaches to it and form even different conceptions of its scope. But most of them appreciate the need for studying the socio-cultural anecdotes of its birth and growth. They agree that sociology in India bears the imprint of Western sociology but differ in their evaluation of this impact of Western sociology. Now let us move to the topic, the historical roots of Indian sociology. Sociology is a humanistic social science. It therefore has to take into account the specific ideas and ideals, values and aspirations, problems and predicament of concrete groups of human beings in particular historical circumstances, even when it tries to attain generalizations about human relations. Sociology therefore hardly fits into the module of natural science, and its development in different countries bears in one way or the another the imprint of particular historical experiences and cultural configurations. In India, enough attention has not been paid to this aspect of sociological study, leading to a situation where one cannot even today speak with much conviction of an Indian tradition of sociology, whereas one could speak of a German or American tradition of sociology. This is largely because of the fact that in their teaching and research, Indian sociologists have in an overwhelming manner drawn upon the concepts, methods and theories already in use in the West instead of developing their own. The activity of the sociologist in this regard is hardly different from what is done by the physicist, biologist or even economist. But the sociologists have a special kind of reason for their worry. The relationship of data on the one hand and concept, methods and theories on the other in the human societies is different from what it is in the natural sciences. When an Indian physicist formulates and repeatedly most apostly points out a general rule or principle such as the Shah equation or Chandrasekhar limit, he takes for granted that it will be used by the physicist everywhere and not just in India. The utility of a common stock of tools is not in question in natural sciences but in human sciences, its very existence is in question. 2. Because of their familiarity with Western sociology and its basic concepts and categories, the Indian sociologists did not have to struggle so hard as their predecessors in 19th century Europe to establish the legitimacy of sociology as a serious intellectual discipline, but their overdependence on the Western pathfinders made them forget the fact that sociology in the West was an intellectual response, a cognitive response to the problems which that society was facing as a result of industrialization and the type of social upheaval and transformation that were taking place. The intellectual revolution embodied in the movement for enlightenment, the scientific and commercial revolutions which spanned the period between the 14th and the 18th centuries, the French Revolution of 1789 and the Industrial Revolution dealt a deadly blow to the age-old feudal system of monarchy and the church. When the saga of the aspirations and achievements of individuals and the tale of their woes started, there was great uncertainty about values and social order in the new situation. Sociology in the West came by way of an attempt to come to grip with it. It was very largely a kind of cognition system which the industrial bourgeoisie in the European context tried to develop as a response, as a kind of worldview to overcome the problems of the disintegrating traditional worldview and at the same time the disintegrating paradigms of knowledge. But the industrial bourgeoisie had not developed in India when sociology came to the country. Sociology in India was the product of intellectual response of the Indians to the Western interpretations of Indian society and culture, mainly after the beginning of the British colonial rule in India. Anthropology, the kindred discipline of sociology too, was largely the product of European colonial expansion in different parts of the world during the last 3 or 4 centuries. The need to govern men of various races and vastly different cultures created the urgency in the European rulers to study the life and cultures of the rule. The Western efforts to gather information about the life and culture of the Indian, which formed the basis of sociology and anthropology in India, was marked by a similar interest of the colonial rulers. It is of course true that later genuine scientific interest enriched both the disciplines and they emerged in the Western context of modernity. At the same time, one can ill afford to ignore the colonial context within which sociology grew in this country. Lack of adequate attention to this dual aspect of the milieu in which sociology emerged in India tends to give it the semblance of an appendage of Western sociology. No protest, for example, is made against the statement made in 1957 by Dumont and Peacock that the sociology of India has only properly begun in the last 10 years. What is more deplorable is the audacious statement of Robert Bluster, who would trace the roots of sociology to Plato and Aristotle, but summarily dismiss the tradition of social thought in the East. Masterd writes, although I may be guilty of a species of provincialism, I have excluded all sociologists outside of the Western tradition of intellectual history. If excuse be needed, one may say that sociology has not characteristically been a discipline that has appealed to the Eastern mind, and there does not exist, in fact, a corpus of Eastern sociological thought. The error needed to be corrected. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.